This week on ICN, the stories you should have heard, but didn't. Banks now want to do for the environment what they did for real estate. President Obama gives immunity to Interpol. Vanity Fair sheds light on CIA and Blackwater relationship. Persian Gulf states scheduling to move to regional currency. Those stories and more next on Informed Citizen News. Hello and welcome to ICN, Informed Citizen News, January 17th, 2010. Webster's defines money changer as one whose business is the exchanging of kinds or denominations of currency. Are carbon credits going to be a new currency in the years to come? Wall Street has already spent hundreds of millions of dollars hiring lobbyists and making deals with companies that can supply them with carbon offsets to sell to clients. Estimates of the potential size of the U.S. cap-and-trade market range from $300 billion to $2 trillion. In September 2008, The Guardian newspaper in the UK profiled J.P. Morgan's chief financial officer, Blythe Masters. The article began, "If Warren Buffett is to be believed in his verdict that derivatives are financial weapons of mass destruction, then Blythe Masters is one of the destroyers of the world." British-born Masters was one of the most powerful women on Wall Street at age 35 and is widely recognized as one of an elite group dubbed the J.P. Morgan Mafia that fostered the creation of complex credit derivatives at the heart of the current crisis ripping through Wall Street. Blythe Masters, now 40, oversees J.P. Morgan's environmental businesses as the firm's global head of commodities. Banks intend to become the intermediaries in this fledgling market. Banks are preparing to do with carbon what they've done before: design and market derivatives contracts that will help client companies hedge their price risk over the long term. They're also ready to sell carbon-related financial products to outside investors. Masters says banks must be allowed to lead the way if a mandatory carbon trading system is going to help save the planet at the lowest possible cost. She concludes that derivatives related to carbon must be part of the mix. In other words, banks want to do the same for the currency and the environment as they did for real estate. In December, President Obama signed Executive Order 12425, which not only renewed the limited immunity order originally created by Reagan in 1983, but Obama specifically removed the original limitations and provided Interpol full immunity on U.S. soil. The removal of these provisions exempts Interpol from search and seizure of records and the Freedom of Information Act. Interpol established a U.S. presence in 2004 and provides a significant enforcement function for the International Criminal Court. Interpol has a colorful history, to say the least. It was founded in Austria in 1923 as the International Criminal Police. It was taken over by Nazi Germany upon the annexation of Austria in 1938, and its headquarters were moved to Berlin. From 1938 to 1945, the presidents of Interpol included 4 Nazi SS generals, including the chief enforcer of the Final Solution, Reinhard Heydrich. After World War II, the victorious European allies revived the organization under the name Interpol and moved the headquarters to France, where it has been ever since. There are questions as to why Obama issued this executive order and why now. The American people are left to speculate, as there has been no comment out of the White House. A recent profile in Vanity Fair of Blackwater's ex-CEO, Eric Prince, brought to light details of the contractor's relationship with the CIA. What had been long suspected but not documented was that the CIA engaged Blackwater to go into areas otherwise legally denied to the CIA. Whether spotting targets for predator drones in forbidden areas or outright assassinations for hire, Blackwater did the CIA's dirty work. The article goes on to detail the breakdown of the relationship with the CIA as enhanced interrogations came under political fire. CIA employees thought they had political and legal coverage for renditions and enhanced interrogation, but over the last few years, CIA personnel lost their bravado as fingers started to point at them for so-called anti-terrorism measures. Clandestine hit squads became unpopular again, and Eric Prince was looking for a new line of work. This article reinforces the fact that government agencies can always get around the intent of the law by letting private contractors do their dirty work. About 70% of the U.S. intelligence budget goes to the private sector. It leaves Americans in the dark, and you need to decide if that is a good thing. ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Division of the Department of Homeland Security, awarded Winchester Ammunition a contract to supply a maximum of 200 million .40 caliber rounds over the next 5 years. ICE currently has 20,000 employees. From best available information, about 25% of the employees are special agents required to carry a firearm. That would allow for over 50,000 rounds for each armed ICE agent. Since it's a rarity for an agent to fire their weapon in the line of duty at the present time, 200 million rounds seems to be a little overkill. Rulers from the world's top oil exporting region endorsed the much-delayed monetary union last month, despite the pullout of the United Arab Emirates and Oman. Policymakers from the other 4 states, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, and Bahrain, are currently expected to set a timetable for the creation of a joint central bank, tentatively set for 2015. The move will give the hyper-rich club of oil exporters a petrocurrency of their own, greatly increasing their influence in the global exchange and capital markets, potentially displacing the US dollar as the pricing currency for oil contracts. The Gulf currency, dubbed the Gulfo, is likely to track a global exchange basket and may ultimately float as a regional reserve currency in its own right. The chief executive of Bahrain's Gulf One Investment Bank said, "The US dollar has failed. We need to de-link." On January 4th, a New York couple was charged with child endangerment for allegedly homeschooling their 4 children for 7 years without registering their curriculum with the local school district. The arrest has elicited strong responses from homeschooling advocates, civil liberties advocates, and others across the country. The local sheriff had to issue a statement that they were just doing their job. Homeschooling represents the conflict between individual liberty and supremacy of the state. Who has ultimate authority over the child? Do parents have the fundamental right to raise their children in the manner they deem appropriate? Does the state have the unconditional right to review what is being taught inside the home? Can the state compel a citizen to report to a government institution for 6 hours a day without any due process? As government gets bigger and our freedoms are eroded year by year, where do you draw the line? In our last show of 2009, we did a story on China's one-child policy and the brutal requirements that are necessary for enforcement. The week after our report, Diane Francis of the Canadian National Post wrote an editorial calling for a worldwide one-child policy, saying that China has proven it to be a smart policy and that other measures to save the environment are useless without drastically reducing the world's population. Ms. Francis doesn't mention how to enforce the policy in her editorial. We don't know if she would endorse birth permits, forced abortions, jail, or fines as part of her vision. She intellectualizes a topic that, once you scratch the surface, is quite unseemly. The 20th century had the most mass exterminations of populations in world history. Russia, Germany, Cambodia, China, and Africa had the largest mass killings because their elite deemed it necessary for the collective good. Watch out if these ideas gain any momentum under the so-called rush to save the planet. Finally, we have a video recommendation for our viewers. 2004 Libertarian presidential candidate Michael Badnarik presents an introduction to the Constitution. We don't endorse any political party, but Mr. Badnarik presents a strict, literal interpretation of the Constitution during this 8-hour class available on YouTube. Some of ICN's editorial discretion is based on the view that the Constitution is a contract amongst the states. The contract intent and meaning does not change or evolve over time, as no contract should. The authors of the Constitution put in an amendment process for the purpose of allowing the people to modify as they deem necessary. If you believe that the Constitution is a living document and judges have leeway to interpret constitutional text as the times change, then you will still benefit from watching this presentation. The link is under more info in our video description section. Well, 2010 has picked up where 2009 left off. We don't make the news, we just report it. From all of us at ICN, have a great week.